Hi everyone, this week we've got Sam on the show from Homesearch. We're talking about educating and dominating. We published an article in Estate Agent today about a survey conducted of buyers being too scared to ask for advice. I want to talk to Sam about some ideas around this. I'm going to split it into three categories: brand education, sales education, and lettings education. Let's start with the brand, Sam. So what can agents do on educating and dominating from a brand point of view, please?
That's a good question. Hello, Lee, and everybody watching this. Right, clock's on. I think rather than talking about maybe educating and dominating, it's almost educate to dominate. I think there's going to be people watching this who watch all these videos who are a bit like you and I, and they don't like seeing agents putting out pie chart after pie chart after pie chart, or agents putting out marketing, if you can call it that, that talks about that they've been in business for 120 years. Like, the market doesn't care about your pie chart. They will respect that once you've earned their business, and that's something that you can present to them in a living room. I don't think it's something you should be presenting to them to get in their living room, right? People everywhere, it doesn't matter if you're selling your service to let a house or sell a house. It doesn't matter if you're selling cans of Coke, right? People are responsive to what resonates with them. So you've got to understand, like, put your customer or your client hat on for a second and think about, what can I talk about that is actually going to resonate with the people that I want to speak to most?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's important to put the boot on the other foot on what you're doing. Like, for example, we got a letter through the door the other day of we've opened a new branch. I mean, it's great for the brand, it's great for the company in terms of you're growing, but for me, what does that mean to me? It doesn't mean that much to me as a person who wants to sell their house. And it's about what's important to me, not what's important to you. And the boot on the other foot is a classic side of it. So I agree with that, Sam. So I want to ask you, on the letting side, what do you think agents can do to help educating on the letting side?
So I've never worked in lettings. So anything I say now, take with a grain of salt, because maybe I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But I don't think marketing, and let's talk about education, that's a nice theme, right? I don't think it's too different from sales. Lettings is in a probably stronger position than sales is right now. So if I'm an agent, I want to meet more landlords, the natural thing for me to talk about is how much rental prices have grown over the last probably 4 weeks in some markets. I was having a chat to one of our clients today, and I said, these are the people you need to talk to, because they've got a hell of an opportunity to hold on to their houses if they rent them out for probably hundreds of pounds a week more than they thought they could, because the last time they would have got an update would have been years ago. So talk about the changes in price. Talk about the results that you're getting on your own register as well. Like, what is the real value, dollar figure? So it's not like rents have gone up 4%, right? If I said that to you, you'll go, I don't really know what that means. Maybe you won't, because you know the market quite intimately, right? But if I said rents for houses like yours have gone up £50 a week in the last 3 months, that means something to you, right? That's real. So you can go, £50 a week, what would I do that? How's that extra money going to help me hit my personal goals, help my family hit our family goals? Does it let us go on a holiday? Maybe I should be talking to Lee and his estate agency instead of my current managing agent, because I'm still getting the same rent that I was 2 years ago, right? I think the last thing I would say on finding landlords or educating landlords is, if the sales market's starting to turn, then lettings presents a really natural opportunity. So talk to those people who are struggling to sell, whether it's their own fault because they want to adjust their price, or whether it's the agent's fault because they don't have the courage to help them adjust their price. It doesn't really matter, right? Rents have gone up so much that renting their home, holding onto it, becoming one of those accidental landlords is a genuinely viable option. We're seeing more and more lettings valuations booked off the back of old sales stock than we are anything else at the moment. So I think that's a really important point, and that's a way of which you can go and book more of those vals day in, day out by just asking the question, have you thought about renting it? Renting is booming right now.
And that's important to what we were saying about educating on the brand, from giving that person something that's of use to them, like, just using the example of the letter that come through the letterbox the other day on we've opened a new branch. That information that you're putting, I know obviously it's different, this is sales, but how much more useful that is to the person than it is about opening a new office. So, Sam, I'm going to ask you the same question. There's a theme going here. On the sales side, please. So you've done the lettings. Let's have some sales.
Right. So again, I'm going to talk about what our experience has been like. So my wife and I've actually just bought a house, which is funny. And we had a pretty average experience, but I don't think it was that dissimilar from what a lot of people go through. We're in a really fortunate position where we knew where to start. A lot of people don't. You know, this whole, like, why I reached out to you and I said, Lee, let's jump on another video is because you released that data. You can tell I've been in Australia too long when I start saying data. You released that article the other day that said, like, most buyers out there are too afraid to ask an estate agent for help. Like, what a sad survey. Those people are not getting any of the advice that they need to make probably the most important financial decision they're going to make in their lives. To me, that screams there's an opportunity, right? Agents have now this almost like raison d'etre to fill those gaps. To say to people all the time, you're probably scared to ask me questions because you haven't had a good experience in the past. And people are going to go, oh, you're right. Well, what do you want to know? You know, I've got a whole database of people who want to sell their house but can't find where they want to live. What you're seeing on Rightmove or Zoopla or on the market or Boomin is only just 1% of what's out there. Let me help you find something else. And let me talk to you about all the other bits that you need to know along the way as well. If you said that to 20 buyers today, 10 of them are going to turn around and say, and do you want to come and look at our house too? So again, you're not talking about your market share. You're not talking about achieving record prices. You're not talking about days on market yet. That's really important. What you're doing is you're solving that problem, right? And the opportunity is that there's a real laziness in the market, right? And for the right agents, it's so easy to capitalize on that, you know. And all you've got to do is you just ask the right questions, give the right advice, like educate to dominate, like we said at the start, right? And you're going to be working with as many of the truly motivated sellers, buyers, landlords, investments that there are in your local area. And that's literally, as the market starts to turn, that's what every single agent wants.
It is, and I think there's some really, really great tips there, Sam. And I feel like I would like a 30-second summary for the viewers that have stayed to the end for a last-minute takeaway. Some in the brand, the lettings, and the sales, please. And I know you've just done the sales, so that's pretty easy. But if you can summarize them all, please.
Okay. Let's go back to right where we started with this, right?
Yep.
Put your client hat on. What is important to them? What questions? If you think back to the last 20 people that you bought and sold for, or that you rented and let out for, what were the questions that every single person asked you? Start talking about those, because those questions are the common questions, which means you always have the answer. And if you can talk about the questions, people are going to go, oh, Lee's awesome. I was just thinking that, and I watched a video of him. They might not engage. Ignore the fact that you don't get any likes, right? Ignore the fact that you don't get any comments, because there's a silent audience of people
100%.
who will appreciate you educating them. And when their time comes, which for a lot of people is always sooner than they think, they will call you. And then you'll have the opportunity to talk about how good you are.
Do you know what, Sam? That silent audience, is massive. People don't realize that if you don't put anything out, you think, oh, I didn't get anything. Yeah, but there's how many viewers that see it that didn't do that, that saw your brand, that saw you, that saw something useful, that then might do something in the future. You know, they're the people that are the most valuable, really, because they're still seeing your brand, they're still being educated. So, Sam, there was some cracking advice, some cracking tips on all three areas. Thank you so much for coming on the show and bringing all your insights. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee. Great to be with you.